So to start out the mixture, I just take a full can of black beans. These are just regular canned black beans. I make sure to wash them until there's no bubbles left. And then I just puree them in my little tiny, I think it's like a 2-cup food processor. It's from KitchenAid. It was like $10, but it was like the best $10 I've ever spent. Yeah, and then I just puree that up. I usually add like half a clove, maybe a full clove of garlic to that as well. It just adds a nice flavor to it. So I have my black beans all up in my little KitchenAid food processor, and I usually, there's chop and puree setting. I usually start it on chop just because it is so tiny. I don't want to ruin the motor. But I usually find the chop, which is the slower one, honestly usually works better than the puree one for some reason. Whether it's blending black beans or cashews or any other nuts that I blend up. But yeah, I always go with the slower speed first. So this is the final product of the bean mixture. It's very like sticky and dough-like you can make it into a patty, but there's still chunks of beans in it. Like this is like still like a whole bean, so it just kind of adds like a nice texture, so it's not just like a mush, and that way whenever you put your sandwich together it doesn't stick to it. Okay, so now my bean mixture is just ready in my bowl. I usually just go ahead and grab just a regular wooden spoon. I find it's the easiest to use for this kind of stuff. And you can kind of add whatever you like into your bean mixture. What I add is just, I've just kind of grown accustomed to it over the past little bit, but yeah. So I just go ahead and start stirring up the beans just so that it kind of separates them, because they do get a little bit clumpy. The ones that are the more blended, they tend to stick together. So first, one of the main things that I put into it is this Old Bay spice. I heard this from, I think it was another YouTuber, I think it was Lauren Toyota, and she's also from Canada, and so I was really surprised whenever we had it. But it's so good. It has like a little bit of spice to it and just the right amount of saltiness. So I just go ahead and add a little bit of that. And also just give that a stir. Make sure it's mixed in a bit. Pepper, of course. And this is one of my most favorite things to add to it is Frank's Red Hot Sauce. I am obsessed with this. It has like the perfect amount of vinegar to it, and I like to add this as well because it does add like a wet component to the mixture. If you want to add a wet component but don't like spicy things, I recommend using either ketchup or barbecue sauce, depending on which flavor you like more. I have found that the ketchup works better because it doesn't have a super strong flavor, so you can still taste any other spices that you put into your bean mixture. I also usually add about just like a half of a lime. You can use lemon as well, but I don't know, I prefer the taste of the lime, so just go ahead and squeeze it in. I think I also prefer the lime because there's no risk of getting seeds in anything, because I'm a very lazy person and I don't want to go out picking seeds from my food. Of course, I'll add in my secret ingredient, raw sunflower seeds. I love to add seeds to almost anything that I make, for burger wise or sandwich wise. I just find it adds a nice crunch to it, so you don't have like the monotony of just like a mushy patty, because sometimes whenever you do cook with beans or chickpeas, it can get really mushy. So having the seeds in it, and I mean they're raw, they're unsalted, so you don't even taste them. And seeds are good for you, so why not add them in? Alrighty, and so that's about it for the mixture. For myself, if I'm putting it on a sandwich, I usually just leave it as is and spread it onto the bread. But if you're doing a burger, you can add about a 1/4 cup of flour, preferably just white or whole wheat flour, nothing crazy, because it'll help it bind together, and then you can just bake it in the oven for 10 minutes on each side, and they kind of come together more as a burger. Just gonna set this mixture aside. and get into what I put into my sandwich, or I guess onto my sandwich. I usually start with either grape tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, Roma tomatoes. I find they have less of like the gooey on the inside, which I'm not a big fan of tomatoes. I'm trying to get into them, so I'm finding the smaller ones are better. So I'm just gonna grab about a handful of these, and I'll set those aside as well. And I also just add spinach. This is just a generic brand that I got from Superstore. It's for some odd reason, I don't understand. The organic spinach is actually cheaper than the regular spinach, and they both come in the same size containers. So I always go with the organic one. Do like to put spinach, sometimes romaine, depending on what I have money for, but definitely a leaf of some sort. I like to use avocado rather than a lot of the other condiments because other condiments do tend to have a lot of salt in them. Avocados are full of the good healthy fats, so I do like to use avocado. I'm having two sandwiches, so I'm going to use the entire avocado, but if I was just having breakfast, I'd probably only use like half of one. If you are going to prepare your avocado ahead of time, I recommend saving the pit, which is this, and putting it into the bowl with saran wrap and make it as airtight as possible. That will keep it from oxidizing, which basically means it keeps it from going brown. Same idea, like if you eat an apple and you leave it out, it's going to go brown. So avocados do the same thing. I could get a bowl, but again, I'm lazy and that just means more dishes, so it's not going to happen. Okay, and now I'm just going to cut up my tomatoes. I like to cut them lengthwise. And see, as you can see, there's like very minimal of that really juicy inside, which I'm not a big fan of, but I do like this outside. So these little grape tomatoes are perfect if you're trying to get into eating more tomatoes but just can't handle their texture or even their flavor. I do recommend doing the smaller ones like these. And if you're wondering, these are the brand of English muffins that I usually get. They're just like the Wonder Bread brand. Definitely 100% whole wheat, not the white ones. There's more sugar in them. I toasted 2 English muffins. I start off putting some of the bean mixture on the bottom half. And I do specify the bottom half because I find if you put it on the top half, it like sticks to the roof of your mouth like peanut butter, and nobody wants that. So I take about a tablespoon amount and just plop it out, spread it down with the spoon. And I should mention, sometimes you can heat up this bean mixture if you like. Just throw it in a pot or like medium heat, just stir it around if you prefer like a warmer sandwich. But because this is more of just like an afternoon snack kind of sandwich with like avocado, which is chilled, tomatoes are chilled, spinach is cold, I kind of prefer just having it cold, as if I was eating like a chickpea salad sandwich or even just a veggie sandwich. I find it's nicer if it's cold. Always be sure to add some pepper onto your avocado. It goes really well. Also, another little tip is I like to add a little bit of the Old Bay seasoning to the avocado as well. It does have a little bit of salt in it, so it adds a nice saltiness without overpowering it. And for myself, I'm going to top it off with a couple drops of Frank's Red Hot Sauce because it's my go-to condiment. So here we have the final product. These are definitely my favorite lunchtime breakfast sandwiches to eat. I just cut up a pickle with it as well because I'm obsessed with pickles. I love their saltiness. And I always have a nice glass of water with it as well. Thank you for watching my video for easy vegan breakfast and lunch sandwiches. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and let me know what other recipes you would like me to make.